correctly with the correct amount.
Hi, Tina here, journalist for HMTV Canada Easing. With me today is a very special guest. Please welcome actor and writer Bernard Robichaud, best known for his play Kitchen Sports and well known for his role in Cyrus in The Trailer Park Boys. Hi Bernard, how are you? Did you get that bottle of Elise at the liquor store?
Did I? No, I didn't. Not yet. No, but that's the next thing I gotta do tomorrow when I go Christmas shopping.
That's a really good bottle to get, especially if you're serving guests this time of year.
Okay, well, I trust you.
Okay. Now we're going to start with your acting and everything that's been happening over the years. We're going to start at the very beginning. At 18, you were modeling in Toronto at the time, and this is where the journey begins.
I was modeling between Halifax and Toronto at that time, yeah. Just when I finished high school.
Were you working with an agent at that time?
I had an agent in Halifax, yeah, and I ended up doing a series of fashion shows a couple years later, which sent me to Toronto and to meet Andy Bodie, who is one of Canada's top choreographers when it comes to fashion shows. He was doing the Craven A fashion shows for the top Canadian designers at that time, and so he sent me up there to meet a couple of agents, and one of them probably had about a 40-minute interview with her, and then she showed me a picture of a guy she just hired, and it looked like my brother, so said, I can't possibly represent you, and I said, okay, and she said, but you know, you're missing your calling, you should look into, have you ever thought about being an actor? And I said, yeah, me and 10 million other people, I'm sure, and then she kind of laughed, and she said, yeah, but you know, see, that's why you should be an actor. She said, you're spontaneous, and that's, you know, I think you'd be great on film. So anyway, I left that interview. I tossed that idea around in my head for several months. It was August, and I was with a buddy of mine, and we were living together, and he was going to St. Mary's at the time, and you know, I hadn't gone to university like most of my buddies had right after school. I kind of went off and did my own thing, and I was living with by the time I was 16, I was really finishing high school at friends' homes because my parents were separated. Mm-hmm. And it really, after high school, I just wanted to get the hell out and do my own thing. So that's what I did. But, I mean, going to university had always been something that I wanted to do. I could have gone to university right after high school to play basketball, but I just didn't really see going. At that time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do either, and I didn't really want to go just so I could play basketball. So I went out and worked for a while, and the modeling, of course, was you know, something that wasn't regular. So yeah, I talked to him about it, and he said, you know, you should just go and audition and see if you can get in an audition. And of course, I had to write a letter to the dean of admissions at Dalhousie University at the time, and explained to him what I was doing and why I wanted to go to university, and they admitted me, and I went for the audition for theater school, and the head of Dalhousie Theater at the time, who will remain nameless, said, yeah, you get some raw talent, man, but you'll never be an actor. And of course, no, yeah, and to be honest with you, that sort of thing always kind of, it just made me want it more. Mm-hmm. So I was never really good at somebody telling me that I couldn't do something. I mean, who are you to be telling me that I can't do it anyway? You're teaching at a university. You're not doing it. So I mean, how can you sit there and say that I've got the talent, but I'll never be an actor? And I thought that was kind of, weird. So as it turns out, I started, and I was probably 2 months into the program, and my voice teacher, Dorothy Ward, who taught at Stratford, and she said, she took me aside one day and she goes, you're wasting your time, and what they've done with you is an injustice. They should have put you in third year university, or third year, rather than being stuck in first year. She said the kids you're with are just still living at home, or haven't got the worldly experience that you have, and you'll never get anywhere by working with them. So she took me under her wing, and by the time second semester had come around, it was probably almost the end of the term, and that was it. I kind of quit. I never went back to write any exam or anything at that point. I thought it was pointless. pointless, started giving me private tutoring in voice, and then she got me a job at the Neptune Theater. Tom Kerr, who's an award-winning artistic director, was working at the Neptune Theater in Halifax at the time, and he hired me to do the second stage as a production assistant. But that really, because second stage was so small and an annex of the main theater, it really required me to learn everything from reading with the other actors to prop, and I did everything. So in that respect, it was, I got paid, and I learned everything there was to be an actor and to work within the theater. So I don't think that I could have gotten the same kind of thing the way things were going at Dalhousie. So it worked out for the best in the end. After that was done, it was about a year later, and I was asked to do a play. It was called D Street in Broadway, and it was the part was for a South End kind of Boston punk rock kind of character, and that was directed by Wanda Graham. And of course, my family's from Boston originally, so it was easy to pick up the accent, and it went over so well that Sudsy Clark, who was a producer at CBC Radio, he did most of the radio dramas at that time. He and Ken Stetson, who is a Governor General Award winner playwright here in Canada, they offered me a role as a schizophrenic. It was called In Becky's Name, and it was a workshop for another writer, and I played the voice of Robert and Becky. And after it was done...
Now, did you ever thought you could do a woman's voice on radio?
Well, not with this voice. That was the furthest thing from my mind. Actually, it kind of bothered me for a long time before I even got into the sound studio to do it, because of course my voice is rather deep, and I just I just didn't know how the hell they were going to come up with a woman's voice. Now, technology in those sound studios, as I'm sure you know, is quite elaborate. So it was anyway. It worked out okay.
Can you give us an example of both Robert and Becky's voice?
Well, Robert's voice was pretty much like mine, and Becky's Becky's voice was let's see, what was one of the lines? I like herbal tea. Herbal tea soothes me. And I think, which is kind of still a little deep, but then he asked me to do it a little higher, and it was, herbal tea soothes me. So it was kind of like, and then with all the panel inside there, he was able to make it even sound a whole lot more feminine than I ever thought would have. When he did the playback, I thought, man, is that me?
Yeah, that was your first reaction, eh?
Herbal tea soothes me.
Never thought you could do those things. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, it was good that I was able to pull it off. I'll tell you, the biggest fear was that I wasn't going to be able to, and where was this going to lead down with me doing even another radio show, right? So many times when we're hired to do film or television or radio, they hire you on the premise of what you did in audition. Well, that's all fine and dandy, and that's great. And most times I find that they're generally, especially in film and TV, I think they've got a look in mind before they actually, and then of course your audition comes into play. But, there's always this underlying thing about, stepping on, you've only met them for 15 minutes during your audition. Now you've got to work for them, and then you've got 50 people standing around you doing, everything, setting up the scene. And then you've got a director there who's really the guy who's going to maybe hire you again, where you've got to, listen to him very carefully to hear what he is expecting from that character. So, if you can't listen, which is key as an actor, and you can't take the direction from that because you weren't listening to him, then, now you're into more than maybe 3 or 4 or 5 onward as far as takes are concerned until he gets what he wants. Problem with that is initially before they came out with the digital camera, they already spent 40 minutes while you were waiting around laying a track and a dolly and shooting 16 mil, very expensive, and now you've got a bunch of scenes that they can't use, and they've eaten up a lot of tape, and so now you're wondering whether or not you'll ever get hired again. So I guess the key was for me was just to be a good listener and to try to give them exactly what he was looking for within 3 or 4 takes. Then you don't eat up that much, and if you can do it within 1 or 2, that's great, because then they may shoot another 1 or 2 or give you the option to try something a little bit different. Whereas if you take up a lot of their time, they're just moving on to the next scene. Okay, that's great, we'll move on, and then you're gonna, and then again you're wondering in the back of your head whether or not he's happy with what you just did, and whether or not he's thinking, oh man, I made a mistake there. Geez, it took him 10 takes to get that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's a very strange medium to work in, although I wouldn't have chose anything differently now that I've been in the industry 27 years now. So I mean, it's, for me, quite frankly, it was an outlet. I had a lot of pent up energy, and I don't know that if I didn't have acting, that I wouldn't have been somewhere else, like in prison, for beating somebody up, or because I spent a lot of time in bars on the weekends, and not all of those experiences turned out to be good ones. So I was a little bit going down the wrong path at that time, and that outlet of being able to be another person while you're acting allowed me the opportunity to really let go of a lot of stuff. It just allowed me that outlet that gives you that extra, I don't know, it's almost like a release. Maybe you can't sit down, when you have issues and things like that, and I think a lot of us don't really know whether or not we've got issues or not until, I don't know, you've gone through 15 marriages or whatever the case might be, or your third girlfriend tells you the same thing the previous 2 did, and now all of a sudden you're saying, wow, that's kind of cyclical, that's weird. And then, it dawns on you, well, maybe what they're saying is true. For me, the acting allowed me the insight into myself to see where my quirks were, and allowed me to just get into a little bit more of who I was, and I think that helped. That's helped me all through my life, I think.
Now, you're currently you're currently working on your own screenplay at the current moment called Kitchen Sports, which
yes, I am. Yeah, it's based on a play that I wrote, back in 1996 of the same name, and it got rave reviews at the time. It revolves around my life as a teenager growing up in an abusive household. My dad was an alcoholic, and he wasn't the nicest drunk. And because I was the biggest of my 2 siblings, my brother and my sister, he tended to pick on me when he was drunk. So basically, it's a play about, and now a screenplay about a young man, late teens, who is trying to have relationships, and they're not working out. His mother leaves him with his father, even though she knows that he's always been beaten by him. And it's the teenager's way of overcoming, how he overcomes this way of life, so that he doesn't turn out to be like his father. So it's more certainly a coming of age story, or a coming of manhood story, I guess, because I found that my dad in particular, I think we all grow up at different rates. My dad, I don't think he grew up until he was in his early 50s, and that, that's just the way it was. But the play revolves around 5 characters that my dad used to have over to play cards with while they were drinking heavily and watching sports on TV. So thusly the Kitchen Sports. And my dad was quite an athlete in his day, and of course, when they're drinking, all the old stories come out. out, and then of course they chuck shit at one another. Not to mention everybody that's doing something wrong on the in the game that they're watching on TV. So it's quite a little bit different as a play, because in a play you have a certain timeline and you have to get the points across, and with film, of course, you've got to make your characters a little bit more three-dimensional, whereas in the play you're relying on the actors to kind of make that happen. But in a screenplay, you're kind of writing all that in there for the actor. I mean, obviously there's some of the own actor obviously is going to be making that character come alive. He's got to work with the screenplay and with what the director sees after the director gets the final draft. He usually makes his own notes and things like that. So
okay, Bernard, I have a question for you. Now, with this movie coming out, there's 2 points about alcoholism I find that's like most repetitious. Do you find that when you have grown up in this type of environment, you fall into the trap of meeting friends and maybe getting trapped into marrying somebody who is an alcoholic?
I've gone out with people that were similar profiles, I guess. I think that's easy because it's what you're used to.
Right. And did you also...
I think sometimes, though, when you're meeting somebody, though, I mean, everybody's always on their best behavior when you're first starting date, and you don't really see all those other nuances until you're 2 or 3 months into the relationship, and then you realize, whoa, hey, geez, that's a little reminiscent of what I already went through. And
right.
Of course, because you're used to it, it's difficult to kind of break away from that until for me, I would just grow tired of it. It would just become too much of the same thing. And I mean, if I wanted to relive any of that, I mean, I could certainly go out and visit my dad at the time. So.
Oh yeah, and I have another thing about alcoholism too, is that when you're a victim and you're the victim and you're growing up in this, the alcoholics tend to blame you for what they do to you, and they put you down all the time and call you names, and you feel like you're at fault. So coming out with this movie, are you hoping to tell kids that are in this environment that it's not their fault, that there's help out there?
Oh, that was the whole premise of writing the play as well. I mean, I wanted people to know, I think as men, we tend to kind of, when there's an issue or we have an issue, we tend to kind of like, it's the buddy system. All right, man, you give a little punch on the arm and, it's going to be all right. Don't worry about it kind of thing. And, and that's all fine and dandy, but it doesn't really solve any of the issues. I look forward to the opportunity to be able to possibly go to high schools or go talk to people who are less fortunate, just to let them know that they're not alone. That I think as teenagers too, and certainly in mine, I'm sure that I was no different than anybody else. But I thought I had the world by the balls, and that everybody was crazy at one point when they were telling me, you should go talk to somebody, or you've got some issues, mister, and all those kind of things that you continually hear. And because you think you got the world by the balls and you know everything, you tend to be a little bit rebellious. And the more you hear it, the more rebellious you get, and then maybe it's too late. I mean, fortunately for me, I was an athlete, so I had a lot of friends who weren't living in that same situation, and you'd go to their houses and for supper or something, and you'd see what was going on, and you'd think afterwards, wow, that's kind of weird. How come their family is so happy?
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm going to get into some other press points here. Recently, you've been playing as the bounty hunter in American Sunset. Can you tell us about your role in that?
Yeah, the bounty hunter in American Sunset. Basically, he's a character that is hired to, looks like he's out to, in the movie, it looks like he might have been the guy that has kidnapped one of the leads, and he's made to look like he's the guy who is out to kill another character in the movie. And of course, that's not the type of character he is, and it's not until the end that you find out that he's actually a good guy to some degree. And so he follows around, and of course, most of the scenes are dark and gloomy, and the stuff that comes out, really makes you feel like he's the guy, and which is typical for a lot of the roles I get. Anyways, I generally get the bad guys. I don't get too anything like that. That's for sure. So, and to tell you any more, Tina, to be quite honest with you, it gives away the entire movie.
That's okay.
And it'll be, I'm sure it'll be released very soon. It stars myself and Corey Haim. Mm-hmm. And Frank Molina from New York.
Yeah, because there's other things I want to get on the topic of movies, because you're proud of your work in Blue Seduction with Billy Zane. Can you tell us about this?
That was a totally different character. That was no wonder I was proud of it. I wasn't playing really a bad guy in that. I was playing Billy Zane's close personal friend. Mm-hmm. So that was a totally different thing for me altogether. I was kind of, thanks for bringing that up. That was kind of nice. That's just been released out in DVD, I think, as well. Myself, Billy Zane, Stella Warren is also in the movie.
Okay, and what was your role in that movie?
I played the role of a guy by the name of Stanley Miles, and he's a close personal friend of Billy's. Billy plays a has-been rock star, basically, who's trying to make a comeback, and I am his manager, and worked together with him in putting together his new CD or compilation of songs. And Estella Warren plays a woman who has got a great voice, and they fall in love, and then of course, if I tell you the end of that, there's no point in renting the DVD.
Is the DVD out now? Video stores?
I believe it is. I'm not sure if it's in Blockbuster or anything like that, but I do see online that it's out on DVD. I'm quite sure.
Okay. Now you've worked in film for many years, and you've worked with icons like James Caan and Kathy Bates. And can you tell us a little bit about that?
James Caan, Jimmy.
Yeah.
He likes to be called. I did a small cameo role with him in a movie. But basically, the role is of a Navy officer. This is based on a true story. It revolves around the problems that arose during it's called Glimpse of Hell, and it takes place on the battleship the New Jersey, I believe, and during some trials back in the I think it was early 90s, late 80s, the turret blew up and killed I don't know 100 some odd men, or injured them. They were using explosives in the guns that were seeping TNT or nitroglycerin after years of being sitting around dormant, and the turret blew up. And basically, my scene with James Caan is an officer who's kind of, their Navy is of course trying to squash the whole thing and blame it on somebody doing the wrong thing rather than them using bad ammo. And for me, it's my role is to kind of go against the grain and say, hey, according to Navy law, that's now how protocol really works, and you're doing what we're doing is wrong. So that's basically the scene. Although working with James Caan and being part of that was I think when you get to work with any kind of icons like that, it's just pick up so much by watching them that it's it's just great experience, regardless of how long or your time on camera is with them. Kathy Bates, I played she just did a movie and directed it called Ambulance Girl. I believe that's out on DVD too, but you could certainly, I'm sure you could watch it online. It's the story of a woman in her later years who decides she wants to be an EMT, and she goes out there, and her first trauma victim is me. I have a motorcycle accident during the movie, and of course I'm battered up, and it's a scene between her and I, and she's trying to do whatever she can to make sure that I'm okay, and so they can put me in the ambulance and take me to the hospital. So it was a nice scene, actually. It's kind of cool when you get all kinds of stuff like that involved, when you're working with machinery and broken up bikes and laying on highways and looking like your leg is broken and all that kind of stuff. I like doing that sort of stuff, especially if I can do my own stunts. I mean, that's just an extra bonus if they feel like you can handle it. If they don't have to bring in a stuntman, that just saves them a whole lot of money. A lot of times, if they feel they can do it, they'll allow the stuntman and they kind of give you a briefing on how to perform it if you're just a little bit off anyway, just to make things safer for you. So yeah, no, that was a great opportunity too. She was a nice lady, actually.
Okay,
very giving.
There's a question I have. Like, do you ever have a bad day on a set and you're going through your screenplay or going through your script or your skit, and if there's a line that you don't want to say or something you don't like in the scene, can you change it? What do you do about that?
There's lots of times where the script is the script, and you better figure out a way in a hurry and in order how to use it, because if they have somebody on set that has got the script in hand, they will correct you. Now it really depends. I mean, sometimes the director will allow you the freedom to work with that line, and as long as it stays within the context of what's going on at the time, they'll allow you to do anything, especially if it comes across a little bit more natural than the line that was written in the first place. So it really depends, I think, on the director and the writer and what his control is over that script that he's written.
And are you allowed to be creative as an actor, to put a little bit extra, like, into the movie, like to add ideas into it?
Not often. You're hired to do the role, and the role revolves around certain aspects of the screenplay, certain actions, who you're dealing with, who you're talking with, and you really have to work from A to B and get your point across and then move on. It's the only time that we've had the opportunity to ad-lib like that and add our own stuff recently has been in our hit series Trailer Park Boys, and Michael Clattenburg, who is writer-director, allowed us that kind of freedom. I mean, we shot it in documentary format, so it looked like it was happening at the time. And to write for the first 2 or 3 seasons, we didn't really have much of a script. We would just go sit in the trailer and we'd say, okay, Mike would say, okay, this is the scene, this is where we're going. Let's just try some lines here. This is what we need to get done. And so we'd all sit around in a group, and somebody would start, and Mike would say, okay, you start, and then we'd go around, and he'd point his finger, and you're listening to what's going on, and you deliver your line. And sometimes it would take 5 minutes, and he'd be happy with what we said, and sometimes it would take 25 minutes, and we'd change things as we went along. And then again, you're out on the scene, and depending on blocking and choreography, especially with Trailer Park Boys, we had so many guns involved that some things just won't work.
Right.
When you're firing weapons, I mean, they're all real guns. They're just bored out so that they'll just fire a blank. The problem is with any of those guns with the blanks is the gases that come out from that are, even in let's say you're using a 45, well, I mean, you better be 15, 20 feet away from that when it's firing, because the gases can burn you or cause problems from there. So you can't really just be up in front of somebody and fire the gun, because there's certain issues. Now, and the bigger the gun, like when we use submachine guns or AK-47s, let's say, in the show, your choreography even has to be further apart. So now that takes 2 and 3 cameras to kind of work in order to get all that, because you could be 30, 40, 50 feet away from. So and to make it look like you're up close and personal is a little trickier. So it really makes it difficult to get all the lines in the way that you had them, because some lines, of course, you might think that you're 2 feet away when you're delivering them, and you're 30 feet away. So it all really kind of comes down to what's working and what's not working. A lot of times now with DVD, they'll either delete it or they'll keep it all, and you can do so much with a digital camera now. I mean, they could put my head on Bubbles' body and the guy's got a new look. So I mean, it just allows them a whole lot more room to manipulate the project. So
now, can you tell us about your role in Trailer Park Boys, Cyrus? Can you tell us a little bit about his personality and what he does in Trailer Park?
Yeah, Cyrus is a character that really is the 3 boys' arch nemesis. He's a drug dealer and gun runner and pimp throughout the series. I based the character on a couple of guys that I grew up with, and I'm sure we all grew up with some of those characters, and that's why the show became so popular. I mean, I think we're in 110 countries now. So, but the character, he's a little ADD. He talks about a mile a minute, and of course he's fairly high-strung, and he's always carrying his guns down his pants, so not the brightest bulb in the group, and he's uneducated. He's the character's got his grade 9, and he continuously fails grade 10 in a couple of episodes. He just can't seem to get his head around it. So, but the character's position is, or Cyrus's position is that who needs a grade 10 when you're street learning?
Right. And you also did a Trailer Park Boys feature film. Is that out now?
Yeah, the comes out December 22nd. It's obviously recurring role. We did an awful lot of work with Mike Smith. There was a big scene between me and Bubbles. There was a large scene between me and Ricky in the classroom. I'm trying to get my grade 12 equivalency, and there was another large role in the jail yard between me and John Dunsworth, who plays Leahy, and Pat Roach, who plays Randy in the show. So those scenes, though, for the most part, were deleted. They'll probably be in the outtakes at some point. There's a couple of cameos with the character in it, which is fine. I mean, it's like anything that you do. You never know what's going to be in the movie after you do it. They hire you to do a role. Once it's all done and they see how things are going, and the story lays out, and an editor gets involved, and the director, and sometimes it's just a question of what they need and what they don't need, and what will work and what won't work. So that's fine. I did the role, and we worked together for 10 years, so I don't have any problems with that at all. My name's still up on the screen. I still get paid, and I still get a credit, so it's all good. People still know who Cyrus is, that's for sure.
Now, some of these scenes that were edited out or deleted out, are they ever going to come back on a DVD?
Well, I hope so. As far as I know, they are. Because often with a lot of everything that we've done with Trailer Park Boys, there's an awful lot of deleted scenes and or outtakes that are just funny blooper stuff that happened while we were filming. That's hilarious, and they keep it. And I'm sure that the last time I was talking to one of the producers, and I was told that it'll be in the DVD. So.
Awesome.
Whether or not that's the case or not, I don't know. I'll see it come out on the 22nd, and we'll all get a chance to have a look at it. I kind of hope they do, because there was some good stuff between me and Bubbles and me and Ricky. I mean, that was, I think, why a lot of people tuned in, because both Ricky and I played two characters who were kind of, opposites, and even though we were both we were both equally stupid. So it brought a lot of. I think the shows that Cyrus are in kind of speak for themselves. I think the ratings on them are pretty high. I think everybody likes to tune in to see what's going on with the bad guy and what's he going to do next. I was very fortunate with that, because oftentimes, as I'm sure you know, bad guys don't usually last 10 years.
Yeah, that's true.
After the first season, he gets shot or locked up or whatever, and then you never see him again. So they bring in another bad guy. So for me, I was very fortunate, lucky to work with that kind of sort of team. We all worked really well together, and I'm very fortunate to work with Mike Clattenburg, because he's a very gifted director.
As the Cyrus, can you perhaps give us a bumper saying, "This is Cyrus, and you're tuned into HMTV Canada Easy"?
This is fucking Cyrus from the Trailer Park Boys, people, and you're tuned into HMTV Canada. And you better be listening. I'll come out and get you all.
Now, you had mentioned on the phone as we talked yesterday, you had mentioned there's going to be a tour for the Trailer Park Boys coming up. Can you give all the juicy details on this tour?
It's not a tour for the Trailer Park Boys themselves. The boys have their own show. Randy and Leahy have their own show. I've just been asked recently by a manager and booking agent who works with the other guys to do my own thing, because they keep getting asked for Cyrus. And so I sat down with a writer comedy writer, a comedian out of Toronto, Andrew Young. He's won Mike Myers Award for comedy, and he and I collaborated and sat down and wrote about an hour, 10-minute kind of skit. Then we have a Q&A period, and then there's probably 20, 30 minutes afterwards where I go out into the crowd and take some Polaroids, sign autographs, that sort of thing. So I imagine if we just did it straight out and we didn't have the laughter involved, it would probably run almost an hour and a half. We expect that the show will be, 1 hour, 40 minutes, 2 hours maximum. And basically it's based around, we're calling it, at this moment, it's called Drug Dealer or Public Speaker. You pick. And he's basically, of course, the character who's out on probation, and he goes around doing public speaking in order to keep his probation, and it's kind of a community service that he's offering to tell people how to become just like him. I get involved with talking about my mom and my dad, which weren't in the show, and drugs and how I sell drugs, and some of my good ideas on how to sell drugs, like the super baggie, because that was one of my good ideas. You simply blow dupe smoke into a baggie and you sell it as a super toke. It didn't really work out that well for me because, I kept hyperventilating and getting really...
Oh, did you really try it?
Like that.
Oh my God, wow.
But that's part of the character's line there. So it's funny. I didn't know what to expect at first, when I first did it. So it has a couple props involved, and I just recently have shot the posters, pictures for the posters, it starts out in Edmonton in 2010 in 1st of April.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned the movie industry has changed drastically over the last couple of years in technology. How have you found it is changed from the time you started up till now?
Well, which is the advent of the digital camera. Mm-hmm. You can move around all over the place. Your choreography doesn't have to be as tight, for sure. It just allows the actor and the director and your cameraman, or your director of VOP, the opportunity to move all around the scene. So you can there's no real putting a tape on a mark as much as there used to be, where here's your spot, here's where we need to move to, these are the lines you have to deliver and get out by the time you move those 3 steps. You need to face the camera this way or that way. I mean, which is, you can't block yourself, you can't block the character, you can't block your face. I mean, there's a lot of things that go on when you're shooting just with regular film, whereas with the DVD or the digital camera, they can move all around that entire scene and shoot exactly what they want. And, so it's totally changed in that respect. Most of the rest of the other stuff, as far as technicians, I find, is pretty much the same as it's always been. I think the biggest thing, obviously, is the camera and the freedom that it allows the performers to have, which is, like I said, and sometimes, of course, if you miss your mark and you're too, so there was so much more that you had to think about before you even get the word out of your mouth when you were shooting on film, that you just don't really have to worry about it as much anymore with digital cameras. So you can pretty much ad-lib and or keep on rolling. You don't have to worry about messing up a line, and you just keep on, they just edit that right at that 1 and 0, and, so you just keep on going and going and going. So it's totally different in that respect, which is good because, you don't have to worry, and you don't have to worry about eating up a lot of film when you do that sort of thing. So you just, they just edit it and you just keep on rolling. So it's perfect, really. It's probably, it's a hell of a lot more fun to film in. There's less stress on me trying to figure out, okay, I gotta go here, I gotta go there, I gotta move there, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. When you're thinking about 15 other things that you gotta do before you even get the line out, sometimes that can be a bit of a headache. There's no question about that. Although, I always like the challenge. So, in that respect, certainly bring it on, was my whole attitude whenever I shot on film.
Okay, now, getting back to Kitchen Sports, when do you hope to have this movie released?
We're hoping that we'll go to camera late next year, and if not, early 2011, because the majority of it happens. There's quite a bit of it that happens during the winter because of it revolves around the main character is a hockey player. So we need the ice. That's kind of the game plan right now, is to shoot then. Now, it could happen that, the powers that be jump online a whole lot quicker and issue the funds faster than we anticipate, but, worst case scenario is probably January to March 2011.
This is going to be
earliest would be probably November or December kind of shoot, 2010.
This is going to be my next question. Now that you've come out with your own screenplay, how does an actor go about protecting their work and copyrighting it?
Copyright, well, you write it and you mail it to yourself in a self-stamped envelope, and that's pretty much easy copyright law in Canada. As long as you don't open the package, it's copywritten. So if anybody tries to come along with anything, then you're okay. As far as anything else goes, in order to get funding from any government agency, which usually comes into play certainly for development, their producers have to get title rights from you and sign off on the copyright so that they can work with it the way they want to work with it. Otherwise, they can't get the funding. So as long as if they don't come up with the funding, then you're safe. You can pretty much go to any producer you want to if they don't come up with the funding. So you're protected in that respect. And there's not much that they can do without it. I mean, worst case scenario is that you can certainly get a what do they call it? Where you get a court order to suppress anything that they're doing with it. So I've never seen that happen, though. Like I said, the Telefilm Canada and any of the provincial government agencies are so tight with that it makes it pretty impossible to kind of screw over, shall we say, the writer in any way without him being taken care of during the process. So yeah, no, that's pretty much the ballpark on that one. I mean, the longer they take, sometimes you wonder whether or not your film or your project's actually going to get off the ground. But government agencies and those, it takes a while sometimes for the money to filter down. So that's just kind of the process. That's probably the biggest part of the hurry up and wait game. At this part of the process. Certainly now I've already got the first draft into Telefilm, and second draft is we're writing as we speak. So
now,
yeah.
Like the music industry, do you think that file sharing is hurting the movie industry?
I think it's two different things in a sense. I mean, with movies, I think that people will be able to download. It's so much quicker, and there's so much more money in DVD sales and or rentals now that it's sometimes better to have a really quick premiere and a short stint through the theaters than there is to have it in theaters for a long period of time when they can put it out on DVD and put it out for sale almost immediately afterward. As far as the music goes, geez, sometimes I know musicians, and it sometimes takes a long time for them to get together enough to create a compilation of music that they could put on DVD, and with them selling it now for $1 or 99 cents or whatever it is that you can buy the stuff from iTunes or download the stuff prior to even getting out there. I think that's it's really sad that I'm not sure that they're all benefiting from that. I think it's a trickier industry, and I hope that a lot of them are certainly dealing with producers and that are on their side, because when you release that stuff, of course, they're not going to get anything for it, and depending on what their deal is or their contract is with their producer. If a producer could easily get all the stuff on the back end and the musician gets very little, and I know musicians that are out there doing their thing, and I know that the band might only get $300 to $500 in an evening for doing 3-4 sets to cover. When you look at that and you look at the work that they put into trying to develop their own kind of way with their music, it's too bad, really. I think it's easier not to worry about it so much in film, just because, like I said, I think the more that they have out there, certainly with Trailer Park Boys, when I look at that, you could get it on DVD and people knew all about it, and all it did was draw more hype to the whole thing, so people rented it more.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's different with the song. Some people will like it and some people won't. I know that similar similar with the film, but when you've got 15 songs on it on a compilation disc or something like that, and you might only have 2 hits perhaps. If they're going to just download the 2 hits and you're getting $2 for the 2 hits, it's not the same as getting $20 for the DVD. And now you can get you only have to spend the $2. You don't have to spend the 20 on the CD. So I think it's too bad, really. Like I said, all I can hope is that a lot of them, are trying to work with the music industry, who's putting out the music, to try to make sure that they're taken care of before that stuff is released.
Okay. So what advice would you have for students that are wanting to get into acting or broadcasting or any of that sort of thing?
Don't tell anybody, don't listen to anybody that tells you you can't do it.
You've been through that enough.
No, I mean, I think we all have our talents, and if your aspirations are to do that sort of work, then, go out and do it. I don't know that from my point of view I could say, hey, go spend a bunch of money in a university. I think sometimes that you have a lot of personal experience, and as an actor, certainly you need that in order to become a good actor. You need the personal experience. Would I spend $40,000 in a college education so I could become an actor, or say that I've got a Bachelor of Fine Arts or something like that and try to go out and be an actor after 4 years? Probably not. But saying that that's not the best thing for everybody, it's very difficult to find jobs in the industry, and maybe having the backup allows you a whole lot many more options. I'm not sure. I'm kind of drawn on that because the more experience you get in any field, even with on-job training, it gives you the experience that you may not get in the classroom.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's a tricky thing. I think the biggest thing is to just follow your dreams and just do it. And talk to everybody that make the connections, and it's going to take time. I mean, it could take a year, it could take 3 years before you actually break into a niche and find a group that are doing stuff that you can get your first job with, whether or not it's an indie film or if it's a feature. I think you just have to kind of do it and not listen to everybody who says, oh, is that what you want to do, or what, are you crazy? Because I heard all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody looked at me and said, well, like I had 2 heads. No, what are you going to do? I'm going to be an actor. Yeah, right, okay. I've heard it all, and you have to just keep on plugging. And when you fall on your face, you just have to
You have to keep going.
Yeah, you have to just get back up, brush yourself off, and move forward and forget about it. I mean, because we all make mistakes in the industry, and whether or not it's sometimes I wish that it would have been helpful to talk to somebody who has been in the industry and knew the protocol, because there's certainly a protocol. I mean, for me, I've always been a guy that's kind of just spoke his mind, and sometimes I'm not sure that helped me. I think that if there was somebody there that could have said, hey, okay, go out there and say this and say that, but definitely don't say this, and this, man. And I might have gotten more work, maybe. I certainly told enough people over the years when I first started that what I felt, and basically told some people where they could go, and that was just me being stupid at the time. Although when you grow up kind of speaking your mind, my dad, God rest his soul, always used to say, tell it like it is, and you'll be a whole lot better off than trying to tell a lie or get around an issue if you just tell them how you feel. And sometimes telling people how you feel isn't the best way to go about it. It's easy to hurt people's feelings if you word things the wrong way. So I think you have to be careful with that. There's a lot of people that are not confrontational, and to be speaking your mind sometimes, it certainly didn't work for me all the time. So I mean, there are going to be people that will appreciate it and will shrug it off and say, oh, that's just Bernie being Bernie. But if I was able to do it all over again, I certainly would have kept my mouth shut sometimes and listened a little bit more. A still tongue keeps a wise head. Okay,
that's good advice. So now that we've covered a lot of press points, is there anything you'd like to say to your fans?
Humbled by their support. Never really thought that I would have that kind of friend and fan base. Certainly appreciate it all, to be honest with you. Without them, I'd be just another struggling actor. Not to say that I'm not struggling, I mean, because we'll all have struggles here and there, but certainly able to do my own thing, and I'm going, things are happening for me. And I always appreciate them taking the time to, out of their day, to email or post to me. I always reply, because, I mean, who am I that I don't have the time in the day to answer a few emails and say thank you? That's just me, though. I just can't like drop that sort of thing and not think that, if it wasn't for them, I may not have worked on Trailer Park Boys for 10 years, and I may not be doing what I'm doing now. So, thank you. I mean, because it's greatly appreciated, that's for damn sure.
Awesome. Bernard, it was a pleasure having you on our show today, and big thank you for this interview. You rock.
Well, thank you very much, Tina. I really appreciate the opportunity. It was very kind of you to think about me and to give me the opportunity. I'd love to do it again if you ever have the time for me again. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, we always got time. If Cyrus, come back anytime.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. This is fucking Cyrus from the Trailer Park Boys, people, and you're tuned into HMTV Canada, and you better be listening. I'll come out and get you all.